on this show, we like to talk about how people get through the dark times in their lives. We all go through those harsh tunnels, and usually it's to get us to the other side where we've learned something and we evolve from that something. And Shane is a great example of that. 3 years ago, he suffered a massive stroke, didn't know if he was going to make it. But voila, here he is today, bigger and better than ever. He himself is a healer, an acupuncturist, and just a quality human being who helps others along the way. Shane, I want to welcome you, first of all. Thank you for. Tell us a little bit about your journey, the day your life changed with the stroke.
I woke up really early. I went to the window. I saw a beautiful rainbow. I took pictures and texted it to people that I love. And then I was fighting with my partner, and I called him into the kitchen and said, I don't know what's happening, but I said, I do. Actually, I'm having a stroke, and please call 911. So then I fell down, and then the irony is that I don't know if that's the right word, but we were in a place where everywhere else in the country, they send a helicopter if this happened. Where we were in Maine, they sent an ambulance. And I knew that they would be volunteer and well-intended, but if I were looking at me, I would see someone having a different experience, and having a heart attack.
Really?
And if they pounded on my chest, they would kill the last brain cells I had left.
Wow.
So that's why it was important for me to tell him what was happening, so he could tell them, so that they would, give me a chance and not do what they would automatically do.
So miracle number one, that's what happened in the end. What did you experience? Because a lot of people hear, oh my God, massive stroke. You're kind of halfway on the other side and halfway in consciousness. Was that what it was like for you? Did you see the light? Did you feel people around you? Could you hear them?
I didn't see light per se, not like I've read or seen in movies, but people came, and I think they were non-body, and they talked to me. And I've heard other people talk about them being family. I didn't recognize any of the people as in the way they presented to me. So, and I was very interested in what they were saying. It was almost like I was watching a cool movie. They came and they were like comforting me, and they were like, okay, this is what happens now. And they were talking to me, and we were just chatting. There was then I was like, I became concerned that I didn't want to go and with them. And so once I said to them, I don't want to go, I'm staying. They stopped talking to me.
Really?
And they stayed. I think this is really beautiful. They stayed and still allowed their presence to be comforting. I mean, even though I wasn't like joining the plan that they had shown up for, or what that led to me.
Yeah, most people, when they have NGAs or near-death experiences, NGEs, they feel like when they come back into the consciousness world, they're more psychic. They have greater abilities to do whatever it was they were doing before they almost died. Did you experience that?
Yes. What's interesting, I mean, I think it's interesting because it's my life, but I had already spent 20 years figuring out how to support people with acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And I'm really good at that. And
yes, so you are.
Thank you. I was very, I had good notoriety. I had a lot of success doing that. And so it's kind of bizarre to think that I could be better. But two things happened, I think. Previously, because I was popular and good, I worked a lot to see people. And I think now, in retrospect, I think too much. So what happened afterwards, I was like, "Not, I'm doing only what everyone does in my field, not more.
You cut back a bit. Yeah. When
I'm
you
doing." Go ahead.
go, Lily.
I mean, I can see from your background, Dr. Shane, that you've worked in quite a lot of different fields, not specifically acupuncture, but you have a quite varied background. When did you first hone in on this field of mind-body connection, as present in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture? What happened early in your life that connected you to these modalities?
Sure. I was working with people early in the AIDS movement during when that was and at the time there was no, before the medicine got better, we were looking for anything to be helpful to people. And so I became very interested in how to support people at doing the best they can do, physiologically. And it turns out that there's a lot of science that shows that there is a physiologic benefit from a bunch of other that we can, from how we engage with that and treat ourselves and live. And in a world where there was no other option or no hope, it was very useful to encourage people with hope, that was grounded in science.
You're still to some extent doing that today, not just with AIDS, though. With people who've suffered all kinds of illnesses, or just go through times when they, feel like they need acupuncture to help them get through a bad emotional time, even. How does acupuncture work? A lot of people don't understand it.
And that's okay. I think because what I think is most useful is to think about that we don't, it's very tempting to understand things. We try to put it in language that we already have. And basically the pillars of it describe human experience, but not in a way that we as Western folks Western folks typically think about it. So we as Western folks try to use our language to understand it, and it gets to a point where it doesn't really work and it's not clear. So I think what makes the most sense is to say it supports energetic responses in the body, and it's very old, in this many thousand-year-old practice, they describe what happens. So if we, like, my job is to appreciate what's happening in a person and then offer adjustment subservient to that. In other words, by attending to that, not by telling them what to do,
Right.
or their body. And that I think that really makes the most difference, and that's the best way to understand it, is that it's basically a function of listening. If we're listening to what a body is telling us in different ways, and we're appreciating that and respecting that and interacting with that, then the body can direct its healing and we can support that.
A lot of people don't understand how physically it works. I mean, you go into your office, you lay down on a bed, you feel very relaxed, and then out come these needles, and you're thinking, oh no, those are going into me. Is that going to hurt? But it never hurt.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it sounds horrible. I mean, I'm very sensitive to needles. So like when I went to medical school for this, I picked out the people I trusted in class and said, please, let's only us work together, because I'm a real imp and I don't want to be poked with needles. Like, I'm not going to do well at this. I'm experiencing this. And those people, I got to have the experience of it feeling good that you described. And even ironically and beautifully, I think, credit to the medicine, even the people who seemed inept as people, like not attentive or sensitive, even those folks, I watched them get good results from the other people in the class.
And
So
it works by hitting meridians or sensitive points that block nerve endings. Is that what it is? I never quite.
So I understand, I think, where you're going with that question, which is what do we call it?
Yeah.
And there are many different iterations of people at different times who have tried to answer the questions you're asking. And thus far, they all fail. So I think it's really a lot wiser to say, we don't know why it works, and it does. We can see something was there. We did something, and something's different. So,
Yes.
To put the why in our language is not operational in making it better.
It's so interesting that you say that. One of the reasons that I started this show is, my own life experience of having been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer last year, and freaking out and not knowing how I was going to get through it. And I believe I got through it with the love of my husband and my friends and my amazing doctors. And, miracle, I was on 2 drugs, and my last scans were showed that the cancer was dormant. So I'm able to do this. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. But again, it's what you learn on the other side of it. It's how it changes you. And anyone who has been in that phase of, am I going to die? Right? And why is this happening? And as you said, I'm not ready to go. I think the big message is for people, if you're going through this, there's a reason you're going through this. And you will survive it, because the mind, whatever the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. And I think a little bit of that inspiration always carries through when I walk through your door, Shane. And so many people who have been with you for years and years and years come back because the same thing happens. You don't have to define it. You just know that it changes you, that acupuncture changes you, the love of friends, the knowing that there's an alternative to what's in front of you, and we create and manifest our own destinies.
Yes, and I respect and honor and would say the proof is in the pudding, and meaning that, like, hearing your story of what you described, like your experience is, that's pudding. It's like there's information, there's how you engage in it, and then there's what the information is after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you have good pudding.
Thank you. I also want to talk about the actual phase of the near-death experience. You were in a coma for how long? Was it a coma, or was it an experience of the other self, the other consciousness, the other level of thinking?
Yes. I can answer that by saying, no one used the word coma. That's why I'm saying that. Although I have snippets of memory throughout, how long was that? Throughout the first 2 weeks. So in other words, I know I was taken to a hospital by ambulance. I know they took me to a different hospital an hour away. I heard the doctor say, he's dead. So, we did our best. He's dead. And honestly, I didn't hear other stuff around that. I didn't hear the ER soundtrack of people talking, but I did hear that. And on the inside, I was like, thanks so much for trying. And I'm not done. So sorry.
Right.
And I'm very glad that I have a memory of hearing that, to have had that responding idea of aha, got stuff to do. And then I was in ICU for a week after that. And that was there were lots of people. That was nice. I mean, it's very good quality of care is what I'm saying. When I was, ironically, the better you do, the less support you get.
Right.
So I was transferred to a regular room, and I didn't open my eyes for a very long time, but I could hear everything. And I know what I wanted to say in response to what you were saying was that partially in this whole time I had no experience of time. So, which I still am bad with, but I use a lot of outside help to manage time well. And I don't, arguably, even with help, I don't do it that well. But anyway, so basically, I was telling a story that I got transferred to a regular hospital room, and the guy on the other side of the curtain was diagnosed with a bad diagnosis, and he was grappling with just learning that what they were telling him was that his life was going to end.
Mm.
And people came to visit him and his family, and they had no capacity to engage with him at all. And so it just was a really challenging situation. And of course, and so I said, I'm sorry, I can't, I don't know how I can help here. And like, I'm fighting to like not die. And
Yeah.
so, what can I do? And so anyway, they moved me to a different room, but
You
um,
felt, see,
I was
yeah.
consistent with what many people describe. And even to an extent now, I was very, very sensitive to all kinds of stimulus. In other words, like light doesn't bother me or affect me so much, but sound affects me quite a lot. Like I relate to my very 97-year-old grandmother because we both drive without the radio on.
Right.
And yeah.
Go
ahead, sorry.
No, finish.
Oh, I was going to tell you that in order to be safe, and I was concerned that, look, I want to do the best I can do, but I don't want to decide what that is for me. I want other people to tell me what they think that is, because I want to be as safe as I can. So, for example, New York State has a situation where you turn in your license to drive a car, and then you go to a place and they test you. So when I was 17, the first time I got my license, the test was half an hour. When I went back, after my stroke, the test was 6 hours.
Whoa.
And I drove on the streets for 6 hours with this cranky person to prove that I was safe. And I'm so glad to have done that. I'm so glad to have been pushed like that.
Yeah. And if you could say one thing about what makes your life better now, what would it be?
Such a good question. No wonder you have those tattoos behind you. Well, the one thing would be actually like, maybe that's an example of like being super deliberate about time and how to spend time and how to speak. I honestly, I don't, so much of life, I learned about how to be a polite person.
Yes.
And that is wonderful. I think it's wonderful to be considerate of people, and also my experience limiting. So I feel a great deal of freedom being unwilling to be polite in any way that lessens the freedom and exchange of honesty between people.
Yeah.
Yes. So I believe in speaking as freely as possible, and I believe in. I'm really annoying to people in my life because I tell them I love them all the time. Because I figure like that was the one thing I was like that I didn't know that I could say again to people.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's super important every chance to be like, I love you.
Absolutely. What a gift and what a great message to give others. Yeah. Lily?
I'm curious. I was very moved by you talking about your near-death experience, and I was particularly struck by the fact that you visited by entities that were not familiar to you. Do these entities still visit you, or do you have access to?
Really good question. So, to be totally transparent, I thought I was going crazy because I knew I had checked out with the other people in the room. If other people saw those people and they didn't, and I was like, okay, this is a wild journey. I don't know what's happening, but like they're not seeing them, So it was really important to me to parse my experience to understand it. And so I went to a seasoned therapist I know and said, hey, I'm having this experience, and please help me understand this. And if I have lost my mind, okay, I'll deal with that. But, like, do you have language for this? Or, like, and that person was very helpful to me in saying, okay, that what you're telling me fits what a lot of other people describe.
Yes.
And she was the person who pointed out to me that typically other folks describe having that experience with people, with the images of people, the presentation of people they know, and therefore it seems less threatening to them. I'm not a person who was like threatened by, so I believe that I'm not threatened by not recognizing the people. So I do believe that they were somehow related to me, but it wasn't like my favorite grandmother or something.
Right.
I mean, and I do understand that how for other folks it might be really useful to like see someone they know and trust and are comforted by.
Yeah. Sometimes we have spirit guides that have been with us for many lifetimes. So this
Yeah.
could be someone from, 2 lifetimes ago, or some other entity from 2 lifetimes ago or 3 lifetimes ago that are always with you that we don't recognize. Because again, time, in that other world, there is no time.
Right.
And some people believe there are parallel universes which allow us to hear and see and feel the other beings we've been with before. And that somehow that is so comforting and gives us joy and a sense of stability and oneness with the world, which is why I'm fascinated by people who get to have that experience and come back and talk about it. And recognize what it is for what it is. And I love, Shane, that as long I've known you for many years, although we haven't really known each other. We've been acquaintances. We see each other in other people's doctor's offices or whatever. But the people around you that I know that our shared friends, are very spiritual. So I have to believe that you've always been very spiritual, and that's why you were able to be open to what your own ability to say, no, I'm not going now, maybe
Yes.
about.
Go ahead.
Because
Sorry.
I think that comes with the evolvement of the soul. You kind of know how to do that, believe in that, understand that, even though intrinsically you don't talk about it or you can't define it or put it in words. It just is. Some things just are. And we lead by example. And you're a living example of the power of just being and knowing and doing you and moving forward in the way that you're supposed to move forward. Forget what other people tell you or what, the documentation says about what your illness may be and what your chances of survival are. The spirit knows. And you came here for a reason. And you came here for a journey, and you knew inside of you, your journey wasn't done. It wasn't over. You have much more to do before that door closes. So my last question would be, knowing you've got many miles ahead, what is it now that you want to do that you weren't even thinking about doing before your near-death experience?
As a human, I'm a person who I consider myself to be loving. And as a, yes, I very much was where I had very much settled on being appropriate. And now I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, just taking the chance to say I love you all the time is like the most important thing. And that's the piece that I feel like I bring from where I've been, that like the emphasis on the fact that yes, no matter what I say when I say I love you, that lands with people, and that feels like it's being of service. So as ridiculous and simple as it may sound, it's like being connected and an agent all the time of love is an incredibly powerful experience. And I'm very privileged to have that.
Amen. Oh my God, what a great message to go out with. Dr. Shane Hoffman, where can people find you? The wonderful you.
Oh, thanks. New York City, the internet.
You've got a website.
Sure. Yes. All that stuff. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Dr. Shane Hoffman, you can look him up. And below in the description, we will have his information. What a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I so appreciate you sharing your life and your words and your experience with all of us.
Likewise. And if I may, I feel very, maybe arrogant to say, but I feel kindred in a spirit, what kind of way with you? Because I appreciate that. I witnessed that you're very deliberate about staying here and doing your work, and and sharing that message as you have that skill set, and you do that in a very loving and beautiful way. Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you. You're making me cry. Thank you, my friend. To be continued. Lily, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Lily.
you. Yes. Bye.